G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. Now if you like today's content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for another bloody good episode. Thank you. Posted by user, Throw Away My Spermazoa. Titled, Wife, female 33, and I, male 34, decided to try for kids last year. Found out I'm completely infertile without surgery. 5 months later, she got pregnant. I literally do not know what to do. This is long. My wife and I have been married for 3 years, together for 6. She's always been one of the most amazing people I've ever met. No huge fights, love languages match up, and we're both fairly active people, which has been why we've always had a really strong relationship for so long. That's why this is so difficult for me. We've both been doing pretty well in our careers the last few years. She's in marketing, and I work independently as an IT consultant, allowing me to set my own hours and be pretty flexible. We decided last year that we wanted to start a family, her most likely keeping her full-time job, and me scaling back to part-time. We've both been anxious but pretty excited to have our own kids. Long story short, I was diagnosed with azoospermia last December. Blockage in the pipes just meant I wasn't actually producing any sperm when ejaculating. It's curable with surgery thankfully, and we finally got it scheduled this July. She's got a high sex drive, as do I, so we've still been very sexually active, but there should have been no way I could have gotten her pregnant. She missed her period this week. I couldn't imagine that she might actually be pregnant, right? The babies are bottled in until they get the blockage out. She took 3 tests though, and sure enough, they're all positive. At first I was stunned, because this shouldn't be possible. She's never been unfaithful to me in the past and never given me a reason not to trust her. I'm not the jealous type, but I'm literally stuck. The doctors said this couldn't happen, and I just can't believe my wife would jeopardize the future we've been so excited for over some fling when we seem to have such a great emotional and physical connection. My wife's been ecstatic. She's given no indication of any guilt or worry that she may have cheated. She was so excited when she first found out that I didn't express my worries then. But she left for work and now I feel completely torn. What if she did cheat? Looking back now, there's a few tiny things that didn't seem to be an issue, but now have me racking my brain for clues. Her job often has her taking clients out for dinner, and it's not uncommon for her to get back later in the evening. She definitely had a busy last few months, but that's not uncommon for her job. She always wears one of the same 2 perfumes, but she came back one night smelling completely different. I remember seeing a text message on her lock screen of just a winky face, a different time, but assumed it was one of her girlfriends. Man. I don't know what to do. I set up an appointment on Monday to see if there's any chance it could be mine. If it is mine, and I accuse her of cheating, I feel like the world's biggest a-hole. But she's coming home in a few hours, and I don't know what I'm going to say to her. I can't stop thinking of these small things that may have been her cheating, and I just didn't see it. Do I wait until the doctor's appointment Monday before talking to her, or do I bring up these insecurities while she's celebrating the pregnancy? I'm worried that I won't be able to hide what's going on. Edit. I should add that I've been cheated on before. Our relationship has been pretty healthy, but that old fear is creeping back in now. I'm not sure how to just wait until the appointment. Edit. I really hope y'all are right that some freak sperm made it past. My wife's coming home though in an hour, and I have to decide if I'm going to put on a happy face until Monday or not. Edit. She texted saying she's going to be home late. This is bringing up some old emotional scars, I think, and is just effing with me. I'm usually never this insecure or uncertain about being straightforward. I think I need to just find some way to bring it up without being accusatory. I'd say you should wait for the appointment. Biology can surprise us sometimes, but prepare for the worst case scenario. Should I take her with me to it? I'm weighing the choices between that and going alone. I'm going to have to bring it up anyways. There's no way I can hide this when she gets back. Don't bring her with you. You don't know what the doctor might say. If the news is good, congratulations, my man. If the news is bad, just take some air and be as calm as possible. I literally just studied this. Okay, so although you've been diagnosed with azoospermia, it means that when they looked at your semen in the lab, it didn't have any sperm in it. However, you produce a lot of semen, and the lab only looks at a tiny fraction of it, which usually gives a good response. Usually, you would repeat several times before concluding it's azoospermia, although just because the lab didn't see any sperm, it can just mean that you had an incredibly low count. So none of their samples from the sample you have showed any. This doesn't necessarily mean that, for example, in a normal ejaculation, a normal guy would have 30 to 900 million sperm, which is usually about 15 million per milliliter. It's possible you have maybe even 1,000 sperm per milliliter and would still be diagnosed with azoospermia, as it would not be expected that the likelihood of getting pregnant at the right time with only 1,000 sperm would be probable, but it can happen. Even if you only had 1 sperm per milliliter of ejaculate, you could still get her pregnant, but you would definitely never find that 1 sperm as a biomedical scientist in a lab. Good luck and happy fatherhood. F, I hope you're right. I don't remember exactly what they said, but are there any forms that would have a complete lack of sperm counts? They seemed to be convinced it was completely blocked off, but this was all months ago. I don't remember exactly what they said. My mum had her tubes tied twice and got pregnant again after each time. Her doctors told her both times there was no way she'd get pregnant again. Doctors are sometimes wrong. I have 2 little sisters to show for it. Update. First, I just want to thank everyone who reached out and offered their story about similar. I can't believe how many people are told that they're completely sterile and end up being able to have kids anyway. I took a lot of what you guys said to heart. I had an ex of mine from years ago end up cheating on me, and it really left a scar for a while. It wasn't until I got a lot more involved with sports and getting in better shape that I was able to try and move on. My wife and I actually met in a soccer league we were in together. We've had so much trust for so long that I thought those fears had gone away. It wasn't until now that I really started to feel shaken like that again. But I didn't want to let my past get in the way of what could be just a huge blessing. A few people really articulated the right way to communicate my feelings in a way that wasn't accusatory and respectful of my wife, who's never really given me a reason to doubt her. It's not uncommon for her to sometimes be home late, and she'll usually like to go straight to bed. I didn't want to dump this on her immediately, and I decided to give myself a night to sleep on it. I got up pretty early, just being restless, went for a run, and cleared my mind. I couldn't wait any longer. I made our favorite omelets and told her I needed to talk about something. You know I'm not Ashley, right? She knows me well. Ashley's my ex who cheated. So, first I apologized. I apologized because I let this build up in my head for so long without talking about it with her sooner. What should be blessing has been nothing but insecurity and fear for me. We talked for a while. I told her how happy it made me to see her ecstatic and excited for the baby. I told her how much I loved the relationship that we've built together, and I feel like an a-hole for questioning her loyalty. She had never given me a reason to not trust her, and that I still couldn't emotionally get over the thoughts of infidelity because of my ex. She thanked me for telling her, and she knew how hard it was for me to get over that. She volunteered to get us a paternity test right when he or she is born, which made me feel a lot better at first. But something still felt off. I honestly don't know why. Something about how she was so eager to get a paternity test, and almost not mad at me at all for having kept this from her. Normally, she would have been upset that I didn't bring it up right away, but there was just a weird feeling I couldn't shake for the rest of the day. It seemed like she was saying all the right things, but I couldn't get rid of this clawing feeling inside of my head. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Maybe there's a gut feeling that I need to listen to. But I ended up going to the appointment alone, as we decided it would be good to see if I still needed the surgery. Turns out it's obstructive azoospermia. I've read so many stories about people who were supposed to be infertile end up getting pregnant. So I brought that up, and how my wife's pregnancy was affecting me. The urologist thought it would be pretty unlikely that I wouldn't need surgery to have a kid with how mine was presenting itself. He mainly tried to skirt around the topic, and mostly pushed me towards making sure she was actually pregnant. Being there didn't really help. I feel like I just got more uncertainty. She had another night being out to 8:30 last night. We talked about scheduling an appointment to verify the pregnancy when she got home. She seemed a little confused, but then quickly agreed. She promised to do it in the morning. I asked how work had gone, and she gave me a kind of non-committal answer about her boss pushing her too much and being stressed out. There's nothing huge there, but she just seemed off. I really couldn't put my finger on it. We were still acting all lovey-dovey, but something just felt wrong, and I couldn't talk about it without repeating the same conversation we had Sunday. I've been trying to throw myself into work to distract myself, but I haven't been able to focus. We have a joint checking account that will sometimes move money in and out of, but really only use it for groceries or household items, unless we talk about it beforehand. This morning, she moved half of it to hers, about $1,700. We don't do that. She's never needed to before. And I checked our healthcare portal, and she made the appointment for the one-time Thursday that I mentioned I was busy working on site. We were supposed to go together. I'm starting to go crazy. How do I bring this up that isn't just me having the same conversation again? I'm looking into getting a second opinion for myself, but I need a litmus test from objective outsiders to know if I'm really losing it, or if this seems weird to someone else. Update. I've been trying to center myself. We talked calmly for a bit on the phone. She claimed she moved the money out in anticipation for the deductible payments that she'll have with different visits. I didn't bring up anything else, but she seemed a little impatient with me. Probably rightly so, and implied we'd have a longer talk when she gets home. I'm trying to not overreact right now. I don't know what to think. This is either a misunderstanding on my side and I'm a father, or not. Thankfully, she's not working late today. Thank you those who are trying to keep me grounded. Update. I went for a long run to clear my mind. Got a shower, and then my wife should be home. I'm going to go into the conversation with no judgment, just objectively walk out the facts and why I've still been struggling personally with some of them. Regardless of what happens, I'm done with any confusion left between us. Thanks to those who messaged me and gave me advice. There is a paternity test called Non-Invasive Prenatal Paternity, NIP, that can check paternity before the baby is born. It includes taking your wife's blood, fetal DNA can be separated and tested, and your blood. She can get her blood taken first, and then you could go a little later. You don't have to have it done at the same time. I only thought of this because it cost around $1,700 to get it done. This is what I thought of, that they could get the NIP test now, and maybe she moved the money for the test. But it's suspicious she's not telling him and booking an appointment without his involvement. It's stacking up against her favor. I hate to be that optimistic person because things are starting to look bad here, but what if that time slot was the only one the doctors had? Booking within a week at my OB, if it wasn't an emergency, was basically impossible. The moving money is scary though. Maybe she wants to get the paternity test out of the way since her husband is acting weird. I hope this guy has a good outcome. The trouble is that she's not communicating any of this to him. There is no way I would not tell my husband if I needed $1,700 for something, unless I was trying to hide something, as well as scheduling an appointment that we both were to go to together. As soon as I made the appointment, I would have told him. Sad to say, this isn't looking good, but I too hope this has a better outcome than what it looks like. Quote, this morning she moved half of it to hers, about $1,700. We don't do that, she's never needed to before. Everything else could just be your own anxiety, but this is something concrete. What's confusing to me is why you were stressing about bringing this up without being the same conversation when the money thing is clearly a different conversation. How come you've moved half of the joint account to your own account? A perfectly simple question that should have a perfectly simple answer, and there is zero reason not to just ask that question. Edit. As this blew up, another question, namely, why not tell you about it beforehand? Because she must know that you'd notice it, and she must know that you'd have some questions. This isn't a few dollars going missing, it's half the account, which is suspiciously precise, and surely significant that she'd move it. Knowing you'd spot it, but not give you a heads up regardless, knowing you'd wonder what was up. You got any sick time? Call in sick the day of the appointment and go anyway. She technically already kind of agreed to go together, so make it so. She can't argue with that. I wouldn't want to surprise her, but I think I might wait until she's home and mention that I can take off and see what she says. Solid plan. Honestly, I hope it ends up being just a misunderstanding for your sake, but it's better to be sure, and it's not as though you were being unreasonable. Thank you. I'm trying to get all my uncertainty out here to make sure I don't act just on fear. I'm a little uneasy how popular the post got though, even though she rarely uses Reddit. I'll probably have to take this down eventually. Don't say, I can take off. Say, I took off, you scheduled it during the time I mentioned I was busy. No big deal, you probably forgot. You did mention you were stressed. I'll be able to be there with you like we wanted. Then watch how she takes what should be an act of kindness. If she stammers, stutters, or tries to backtrack, you have your answer. I mean, what pregnant wife would be so against her husband taking off to accompany them to a doctor's appointment? One who is hiding something. Happy update. I'm sorry to drag y'all through the worst of my insecurities. I definitely channeled quite a bit of my negative crap into whatever I posted. But hey, that's what anonymous people are good for sometimes, I guess. Anyways, we finally sat down after she got home last night. I told her everything that was going on. The urologist, the money, the upcoming appointments. I told her how, even with all her reassurances, too many suspect things kept happening. She agreed how everything looked and immediately apologized. She didn't realize how much my last ex's cheating was still affecting me. She knew I was off going into the weekend, but thought we addressed that. We talked about it Sunday, but I can get pretty internal with all these worries and not show them outwardly. And so while she had thought we were communicating, I wasn't. We decided to start from the beginning and go through everything together. The money was the real problem for me. She agreed with how inconsiderate it was with where my head was at to do that without mentioning it. Apparently, the prenatal visits are so structured that they want you to set up a payment plan with them right away, and she wanted to make sure it was squared away to keep the appointment. She offered, without me prompting, to call them with me tomorrow to verify that, or if I really wanted, we could move the money back. She does get better rewards out of hers, so it kind of makes sense. We read up on obstructive azoospermia, and it doesn't seem like they're often invincible force fields. It seems like the only actual absence of the vas deferens, CBAVD, actually guarantees complete infertility, so it is possible for some to get through. We are going to go back to the original specialist I was working with last year and hopefully get a clearer picture. It turns out the appointment she made was the only time they had available so soon, and figured it'd be best not to wait. I told her I took off work to go with, and she was relieved I could join. Once again, she said all the right things and seems genuine about getting us on the same page. After going through each thing, I was just wishing I believed her a little more before. She's stressed out with work and when she'll have to take off, but she really seemed to want to go out of her way to alleviate my concerns. She even offered an open phone policy if I needed. We did look at that text I had seen, and it was just a girlfriend's. I declined though right now, since I don't want to be that husband. This has really made me take a deeper look at what's in my past and how that still affects me today. Even thinking back to this weekend, it was so hard to see in the moment how much all the uncertainty was affecting me. That level of anxiety literally makes you question what around you is real. I think the trust but verify is the best way to put it. I was just trying to verify without any of the trust at all. This has all put a strain on our marriage right now, but I'm feeling a bit more like we're a team again, working towards easing that. She thought that an NIPP ASAP was a great idea, as long as we also get some kind of counseling together. I'm not big on therapy, but I can probably agree that it will most likely help. I'm feeling a little better about everything. Thanks again to everyone who reached out and shared their own story. Every other comment here I read was a story of a family member who was supposed to be barren and ended up popping out triplets. And most of all, those who helped me try to communicate fairly through all of this. It's time for me to hopefully be a father. Updates: the paternity test came back initially positive for anyone that's going to see this. Smiley face. Trail Mix says, "Dude, therapy can be a great way to work through things in a safe environment. I know you're not big on therapy, but it won't be like you see on TV. It's a place where you can talk with someone who knows what they are doing and they can help you work through these problems. Depending on what kind of therapy you do, they can even provide you with practical tools you can use in the moments when you are feeling that anxiety to help alleviate it. Cognitive behavioral therapy, my favorite CBT, is probably the most common type of therapy for anxiety, and it will absolutely give you tools to use in the moment. Consider a therapist that specializes in that. Acceptance and commitment therapy is also an excellent choice if it works with you, and I find the less structured method of it much more accommodating for most people. Another thing to consider, as I know it's big among a lot of the male population, going to therapy doesn't mean you are less of a man or masculine in any way. It's like getting a financial advisor, except that they help with things like emotions and mental things rather than your money." Source: Licensed MSW. Alright, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, I want to do a huge shout out to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. You should be up on the screen now. I love you all, and I think every single one of you are amazing for supporting the channel in the way that you do. Again, thank you so much for supporting me. And again, if you did enjoy today's video, please do tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. All of your hot takes, opinions, whatever you think, really, whatever's going on in your life right now, I'd love to hear down in the comments below. Before I leave, I'd also like to announce that I'm going to start doing meme content again on the second channel. I know it's been a while, so click on the Markee head on the screen without the Australian flag behind him if you want to go see some memes. And as always, guys, have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.